While I was in the basement grabbing some chairs, I overheard my best friend say, "I can't wait to wake up next to you every day once I move in." My wife replied, "I'm working on it. My lawyer says we can take half of that idiot's company." The next day, as I looked at my phone, there are 303 missed calls. I used to think my marriage was solid, not just steady, but genuinely happy. The kind of life you imagine when you're standing at the altar, shared dreams, long talks over wine, travel plans scribbled on napkins. Janet was magnetic, sharp, stylish, knew how to make anyone in the room feel small or significant depending on what she needed from them. And I was the doting husband, the guy who supported her late nights and ambitious climb up the corporate ladder. I ran my own small but profitable consulting firm, and together we made a power couple. At least, that's what it looked like from the outside. The shift started subtle. She got promoted again, marketing manager now, rubbing elbows with top clients from major sports teams and entertainment execs. She told me everything, or so I thought. "You'd love Ian," she said once. "He's like a British Hugh Jackman with a dry wit and 3 divorces behind him." I laughed then. I shouldn't have. She became guarded about her phone, started locking it, began dressing different, polished, even when we were just grabbing groceries. She said it was to stay in the mindset. I wanted to believe her. When I finally brought it up, she accused me of being controlling. "Just because I look good doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong," she snapped. I let it go. That was my first mistake. Then came the night I found out about the party. Her company was throwing a formal dinner, Hyatt ballroom, black tie, live music, the whole spectacle. "Spouses are invited," she said, lips tight. Like an afterthought. She didn't want me there. I felt it. But I went anyway. I arrived late, unannounced. She hadn't seen me walk in. I stood there just long enough to scan the room. Then I saw her, Janet, sitting not just at a table, but perched on the lap of a man I instantly recognized. Ian. She was laughing, tipping her glass to his lips, the way she used to do with me. I didn't make a scene. Not right away. I walked toward them like I was floating outside of my own body. When Ian saw me, he didn't flinch. No shame in his eyes. Just a cold, condescending smirk. "Oh look," he said, accent dripping with mockery, "it's the little husband. Come to collect his wife? Or just check if the leash is still tight?" Janet didn't move. She didn't even blink. She just looked at me, like I was some inconvenience at her shoe. "Brian, please," she said, waving her hand like she was shooing away a waiter who brought the wrong drink. "Not now." My chest tightened. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed calm. "You're really going to do this here? In front of everyone?" Ian chuckled, leaned back, and gave a dramatic sigh. He's adorable when he's angry. That's when she stood. Not for me, but to gesture to the hotel security guard. "Can you escort him out?" she said, without a trace of guilt in her voice. The guard looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, he's your husband? He's causing a scene." I wasn't shouting. I wasn't flailing. I was a man betrayed, standing in silence as the woman I gave my life to gave herself to someone else, right in front of me. When they grabbed my arm, I didn't fight. Not at first. I just looked at her and said, "You planned this, didn't you?" Her smile twisted into something cruel. "You should have stayed home." And then I snapped. I yanked my arm away and pushed past the guard. Not violently, but with purpose. I wasn't leaving without saying what I came to say. To everyone here, I called out, my voice louder now, steady with the fury of a man who just watched his life cave in. "This woman is my wife. And that man she's sitting on? That's her boss. They've been having an affair for months. Ask them. Ask her." Gasps. Whispers. Ian looked amused, like it was all a game. But Janet? She froze. The blood drained from her face. Security pushed me out the doors, but the damage was done. Outside, the night felt colder. I could still hear the music through the hotel's double doors. But all I felt was heat, rage, embarrassment, and heartbreak. I got in my car and drove. No destination. Just movement. Just escape. My phone was in the passenger seat, vibrating nonstop. Her name lighting up the screen over and over. By morning, I had 303 missed calls. Every one of them from her. But I didn't answer. I didn't need to hear her lies. I already knew the truth. I didn't sleep that night. After the hotel, I drove until the tank was near empty. The only place I could bear to stop was a rundown gas station just off the highway. I sat there for an hour, engine off, staring into the dark like it might offer me answers. My hands were still trembling, not from fear, but from adrenaline and disbelief. I replayed the moment over and over, her on his lap, The look in her eyes when she had me thrown out like I was the one who didn't belong. It wasn't just betrayal. It was dismissal. I wasn't even human to her anymore. Just an obstacle. An inconvenience to be quietly removed so she could keep pretending she was someone else. I crashed at a motel that night. Slept maybe 2 hours before the sun forced its way through the torn blinds. I didn't go home. I didn't call anyone. I just existed. Until that silence, that unbearable quiet, broke into something sharper. Rage. I wasn't going to let her walk away clean. No. Not after what I heard. Not after what I saw. You see, I hadn't told her the full story. I had my suspicions weeks earlier. There were signs, flirtatious messages she accidentally mirrored on our iPad, weird late-night calls labeled client follow-up, and one day, when she left her laptop open, a Zoom call still running. I couldn't hear much, but I saw the man on the other end. Ian. And Janet? She was wrapped in a robe, laughing like a schoolgirl. That's when I started collecting evidence. Quietly. Carefully. The phone backup she never remembered syncing. The work messages she assumed were deleted. Even a small recorder I planted in the kitchen drawer. Just in case. Turns out, just in case was the right call. The morning after the party, I listened to the audio I'd captured over the last week. The last few days had been particularly rich. One recording caught her on the phone with her best friend Gail. He's such a fool, she said, laughing. I told him he should wear that old tux of his. Poor idiot actually thinks I want to dance with him. And then, Ian says once I'm out of the marriage, he'll help me climb up. VP spot in London might open up next year. I'll be long gone by then. Another pause. Oh, and his company? My lawyer says we can push for half. That was the moment something snapped inside me. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was theft. They weren't just breaking vows. They were plotting to steal my life. So I stopped crying. I stopped pacing. I stopped wondering what I did wrong. I became something else. I called a friend, Marcus. Ex-military, now a private investigator. A man who'd once said over beers, you ever need to find dirt on someone, you come to me. At the time, it was just bar talk. Now, it was a lifeline. He met me that afternoon, no questions asked. I laid it all out. The recordings. The texts. The video I'd taken of them at the party or perched on Ian like a prize he'd won. His eyes hardened. I'll get you what you need, he said. But you'd better be sure you want to go to war. I'm already in it. While Marcus worked the angles, I began preparing for something else. I met with a divorce attorney. Not just any, the best. The kind that cost more per hour than most people make in a day. I gave her everything. The recordings, the messages, my financials. I watched her skim through Janet's texts, her lips curling into a smile. This, she said, is career-ending stuff. For both of them. I didn't smile back. That weekend, I went home. She was there. Standing in the kitchen like nothing had happened, like we hadn't just collapsed in public. She opened her mouth to speak, to fake some kind of apology, maybe twist the truth again. But I didn't let her. I know everything, I said. I've got the texts, the calls, the recordings, even the plan you made to seduce me with one last night before leaving me for him. Her face went white. You. Don't bother. You're going to hear from my lawyer soon. And just so you know, I'm not just divorcing you. I'm exposing both of you. Publicly. Brian, please. No. I gave you every piece of me. And you gave me your boss. She tried to play the victim. Tears, shaking hands, promises. She even tried to say Ian pressured her. That she never meant for it to go so far. But she never once said she was sorry. That told me everything. I left her standing there. Later that night, she texted. Over and over. You're blowing this out of proportion. It was just one night. You were always gone, Brian. You're not perfect either. That one made me laugh. The last defense of a guilty person leveled the playing field with shadows. I never replied. But I was planning something. Something no one saw coming. They thought they were clever. They thought they could rewrite my story without me. They forgot I wrote the first chapter. Revenge, if done right, isn't loud. It doesn't come in a blaze of fury. It arrives in silence, like a shadow slipping under a locked door. It studies, calculates, adapts, and then it strikes, surgical and final. After our confrontation, Janet thought I'd retreat. She mistook my silence for surrender. But in truth, I was sharpening every weapon I had. Marcus, my investigator friend, was already digging into Ian's past, his 3 divorces, the harassment settlements buried under NDAs, the sketchy promotions that bypassed better candidates. The man left a trail, and all I needed to do was light a match. But I wasn't just out to ruin them. I wanted to take back everything they thought they could steal. My pride, my name, and the business Janet's lawyer so boldly said she'd take half of. Let me explain. My company wasn't just profitable, it was clean. No debts, no partners, no co-signers. But the software we used, the client contracts, even the IP, all in my name. I protected it long before she ever knew what a non-compete clause was. But I also knew perception mattered. So I staged a little show. I updated my will. Had my accountant move half my assets temporarily to a trust overseen by my sister in California. Legally sound, thanks to some creative restructuring. Then I started leaking pieces of their affair, bit by bit. Anonymously, of course. First, it was an internal email Ian had sent Janet. That dress was meant to come off, not get compliments. You really know how to work a room, darling. I forwarded that to HR under a burner email. Then came the pictures. Stills from a security camera at a hotel bar. Them kissing. Her hand on his chest. Timestamped. Sent to the wife of the company's founder, Janet's ultimate superior. Within a week, the whispers had turned to roars. I hadn't even served the divorce papers yet. Janet came knocking. I was still staying at a short-term apartment downtown, sleek, minimal, mine. She showed up with bloodshot eyes and the look of someone who had just realized her seat on the lifeboat wasn't guaranteed. They're suspending me, Brian, she said. Ian hasn't even answered my messages. HR wants a full statement. Interesting, I replied. You always said he was a family man. Guess that includes HR too. You did this. No, I said. You did this. I just made sure people noticed. She broke down then. Cried like she was in mourning. I made a mistake, she said. I got carried away. I didn't think you'd fight back. I said. You thought I'd curl up, let you leave with half of everything, and pretend it was my fault? Her silence was answer enough. I served her the next morning. My lawyer, Madison, delivered the papers with surgical precision. No drama. No theatrics. Just a thick envelope, neatly labeled, citing adultery with supporting documentation. Everything Ian had promised her, advancement, protection, even love, vanished the second scandal threatened his position. He ghosted her. That smug British accent suddenly went radio silent. And I? I kept going. I filed a civil suit against Ian for tortious interference. Turns out, encouraging someone to sabotage their own marriage for personal gain, especially when they financially benefit from it, can carry legal weight. My lawyer smiled as she filed the motion. This will at least cost him some sleep. Maybe his job. But I wasn't done. I released a final piece, a video clip from the corporate party, shot from across the ballroom. Janet on his lap, Ian whispering into her ear, then kissing her neck. All while I stood in the background, watching. It went viral in less than 24 hours. It started on a corporate whistleblower forum, then spread to LinkedIn and Reddit. The caption was simple: when sleeping your way to the top meets a husband with receipts. Their careers unraveled in real time. Ian resigned under personal circumstances. Janet's suspension turned to termination. Her name was blacklisted so fast she couldn't even get a callback from companies that once courted her like royalty. And me? I was still standing, still working, still rebuilding. It's funny. People think revenge is about destruction. But for me, it was about clarity. She didn't just cheat. She plotted. She conspired with a man who thought I was weak. And together, they tried to erase me from my own life. So I erased them first. I moved back into my house the following week. She had already moved out, though she tried to fight for her half. My lawyer had other ideas. She walked away with barely enough to cover her moving van. I stood in my kitchen, sipping a glass of scotch, listening to the silence. It wasn't empty. It was peace. But the story wasn't over yet. There was still one confrontation left, one moment that would put the final nail in this carefully built coffin. And when it came, it would shake the whole city. They say revenge is best served cold. But that's not entirely true. Precision, that's the key. Not temperature. Not timing. Control. Knowing exactly when to twist the knife, not out of rage, but from understanding. Mastery. Janet didn't understand that. She tried everything after the papers landed. Denial first. Then blame. Then finally, bargaining. She texted, "Can we just talk?" I made a mistake. You know I never meant for this to happen. I ignored it. She left a voicemail a few days later. "Brian, please. I'm losing everything." They let Ian go. People think I seduced him. Like I was the villain. But I already knew the truth, and so did the rest of the world. I made sure of it. Now, it was time for the final play. You see, Janet's company hadn't just fired her, they'd launched an internal review. HR, compliance, board-level oversight. The kind that doesn't end in silence. Word had spread like wildfire across their industry. The scandal was no longer a rumor. It was a case study. And Ian? The charismatic VP with 3 divorces and a trail of HR complaints buried deep? He wasn't just unemployed now. He was radioactive. That didn't stop them, though. Janet and Ian, for all their cunning, were still arrogant. Still thought they could spin it. Tell our side, she told a friend. Let the world know how toxic he was to me. How controlling. How I was driven into Ian's arms. That's when I knew the public confrontation was inevitable. And I welcomed it. It came faster than I expected. Janet was invited, by sheer desperation, I'm sure, to a small industry conference panel about workplace dynamics in the age of remote culture. A laughable title, considering the workplace dynamic she cultivated involved hotel rooms and betrayal. But she showed up, pressed, poised, fake smile intact, playing the victim. I showed up too, not as a speaker, not as a guest, but with a plan. Before the event began, I met with a local journalist I'd known for years, Rachel Lynn. She owed me a favor. I gave her everything, the leaked messages, the texts, the security footage from the hotel, and even the audio recordings Janet didn't know I had. Then I gave her one last thing, a copy of Janet's message to her friend Gail. The one where she said, Brian's such a loser. He'll cry for a while, but I'll walk away with his company, and he'll be left with his sad little consulting firm and no wife. That's justice. Rachel's eyes widened. Holy hell, she whispered. You sure you want me to run this? I'm sure, I said. But not yet. Then when? Wait for my cue. At the panel, Janet was in her element. Dressed to impress, surrounded by half-smiling colleagues pretending they didn't already read the headlines. Ian was there too. Offstage. Not speaking. No one would dare hand him a mic now. But he hovered like a parasite who hadn't yet realized the host had died. As I took my seat near the back, I watched her smile, toss her hair, talk about integrity and navigating career challenges. She was good. I'll give her that. She could sell fire to a man drowning in gasoline. Then came the Q&A. A young woman stood up. Nervous. Shaky voice. I'm wondering how you handle power dynamics when the senior staff may, cross boundaries. Janet blinked. A crack in her composure. Well, she began. We have to remember that context matters. Not every relationship is coercive. Sometimes people just connect. That was my cue. I stood. No mic. No invitation. Just volume. Do they connect before or after they plot to drug their husband and sleep with their boss for a promotion? Gasps. Silence. She froze. I starting. Mouth half open. Ian, across the room, had the audacity to smirk, right before realizing every camera had turned toward him too. Janet started to speak, but I wasn't done. To everyone here, this woman is my ex-wife. She conspired with her boss to drug me at a corporate event so she can spend the night with him undetected. Her friends helped. They mocked me, laughed at how easy it was. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen. The audio played through the small speaker, loud and unmistakable. One drink. That's all it'll take. He's pathetic. He'll pass out before dessert. More gasps. Some laughter, nervous, disbelieving. Ian paled. Rachel, the journalist, stood up from her spot in the corner and said, calmly, we'll be publishing a full article on this story in tonight's edition. With evidence. Security didn't move. No one told me to leave. Janet just stood there, motionless. Then she sat down, slowly, like her legs could no longer carry the weight of what she'd built. A woman in the front row turned to her and said, You're disgusting. I didn't stick around after that. By that evening, her name was trending for all the wrong reasons. The story exploded online. Not because of me. Not directly. But because the truth had weight. And gravity always wins. By the end of the week, Janet's LinkedIn was deactivated. Ian's wife had filed for divorce. The marketing firm she once ruled from atop a glass tower sent out a statement about zero tolerance. And me? I sat in my backyard. Same house. Same trees. Just quieter now. More honest. I wasn't broken. I wasn't ruined. I was free. But the aftermath? That came next. The ghosts. The messages. The attempt to crawl back. After the conference imploded and the article dropped like a bomb, I thought that might be the end of it. It wasn't. The fallout echoed louder than I imagined. Janet's friends vanished like morning fog. most of them faster than Ian had when HR came calling. A few tried to spin it in their favor. Gail, the one who'd coached Janet through her treachery like a PR strategist in heels, released a statement on social media claiming she had no idea the plan went so far. The audio recording I had of her laughing about how he'll never remember a thing said otherwise. She deleted her account 3 hours later. But Janet? She didn't disappear. She haunted. She started slow, emails at first. The language, the tone, it flipped back and forth between self-pity and anger like a pendulum slicing through guilt. You've destroyed my life. I only did what I thought would get us ahead. You could have handled this privately. I still love you, Brian. The last one almost made me laugh. Not because I found it funny, because it was sad, pitiful, like a moth trying to negotiate with a flame. I didn't reply. Then came the calls. From unknown numbers. From burner accounts. I answered one by accident. Her voice was quiet, cracked like dry porcelain. Please, Brian, just talk to me. You don't understand what it's been like. Ian's gone. He won't even return my calls. I'm not okay. That last one lingered with me longer than I wanted it to. Not because I still loved her. Not anymore. That part of me, the part that would have dropped everything to hold her, reassure her, carry her through the storm, was dead. But I'm not a monster. You don't spend years building a life with someone and walk away without feeling the echo of it. Still, sympathy is not a reason to open the door to a house that's already burned to the ground. I left her to her silence. A week passed, then 2, and then one day, out of nowhere, I saw her. It was a Saturday morning. I was at a local farmer's market, grabbing coffee, talking with an old colleague who was interested in collaborating on a new project. And there she was, Janet, standing across the street. Her hair pulled back, no makeup, oversized coat that didn't quite hide how thin she'd gotten. I pretended not to see her. She walked over anyway. Brian, she said, her voice low. Can we just talk? I looked at her. Really looked at her. She wasn't the woman who once lit up every room she entered. She wasn't the queen of conference calls and tailored power suits. She looked like someone who'd been gutted from the inside out. Why? I asked calmly. What's left to say? She hesitated. I didn't think it would end like this. No one ever does. She tried to reach for my hand. I stepped back. You don't get to rewrite the ending, I said. You already chose the plot twist. You picked the villain over the man who loved you. Her eyes welled up. I've lost everything. No, I said. You gave everything away. And now you're living with the receipt. She didn't argue. Just stood there, shaking. Can I just have a moment? Not even to fix anything. Just to say I'm sorry. I paused. Maybe she meant it. Maybe she didn't. But I'd long since stopped needing her apology. I forgive you, I said. She blinked. You do? Yes, I said, my voice like stone. But not for you. For me. I'm done carrying this. I turned and walked away. And that was the last time I saw her. But not the last time I thought of her. See, the damage she caused. Public humiliation, professional sabotage, the attempt to steal my business and drug me to get away with it. That doesn't disappear overnight. But here's the part people don't understand about revenge. You don't do it to destroy them. You do it to free yourself. To look in the mirror and know you didn't lie down. That when someone tried to erase you, you wrote your name in stone instead. In the months that followed, I rebuilt. Quietly. Steadily. The consulting firm? Stronger than ever. I hired new people. Opened a second office. Started mentoring young entrepreneurs. People with heart, ambition, ethics. And I lived simply. Walks in the park. Cooking meals that tasted better without the sourness of secrets. Rediscovering books I used to love. Friends I neglected while playing the role of a devoted husband to a woman who didn't deserve the title of wife. I didn't date. Not for a long time. And when I finally did, it wasn't to prove anything. It was because I met someone who listened more than she spoke. Who smiled with her eyes. Who asked about my scars, not to pity them, but to understand how I survived.